It's moving soft waves of light drifting across it like water reflecting sunlight. Just you, lying on a surface that isn't quite a bed, in a room that isn't quite a room. Your heart is pounding before your brain even catches up. Something feels wrong, and the first thought that hits you isn't where am I? It's when am I? Because on the wall in front of you, glowing in soft blue numbers that seem to hang in the air with nothing holding them up, is a date. March 3rd, 25, 26. You blink. You read it again. Your mouth goes dry. 500 years. You just woke up 500 years in the future, and nobody in this new world is coming to explain why. For a moment, you don't move. You just sit there, staring at those glowing numbers. It doesn't collapse. You press your palm against the surface beneath you. It's warm. Not heated, warm, alive, warm, like it's breathing with you. You look down at your hands. There, your hands. Same scar on your knuckle from a bike accident when you were 11. Same chipped thumbnail. You are still undeniably you. You're not in someone else's skin. You're just somewhere else. The room has no doors that you can see. No hinges, no handles, no seams. Just smooth, curved walls, the color of pearl, humming faintly, like the whole space is a held breath. And then a voice speaks. Not from a speaker. From everywhere, soft, layered, almost musical, like it's made of 100 different tones singing the same sentence in perfect harmony. You are safe. You are awake. Please remain calm while your body completes reintegration. Reintegration. That word lands in your stomach like a stone. What exactly did they have to reintegrate? Here's what you'll come to understand, piece by piece. Over the next several minutes of your life, minutes that will feel longer than entire years you lived before. You didn't wake up in 2526 because of magic, or a coma, or a glitch in the universe. You woke up because in the year you actually died, let's say it was 2026, the year you're watching this video, you signed up, quietly, almost as a joke, for something called continuum preservation. To keep your body and, more importantly, your mind intact until medicine caught up to whatever was going to eventually kill you. You forgot about it. Everyone does. Half convinced it's a scam, half hoping it isn't. It wasn't a scam. You died in your original timeline, cause unknown to you right now, a car accident, an illness, old age, it doesn't matter yet. What matters is that somewhere in the last 5 centuries, someone kept a promise to a stranger who no longer existed in any conventional sense. And today, they woke you up. The room around you finally shifts. The pearl-colored wall softens and folds inward like liquid, revealing an opening where there was none. Light spills in, not artificial light, not sunlight either. Something in between, warm and clean, like the world outside has been designed rather than simply lit. You stand. Your legs are stronger than you remember them being. Your body feels tuned, like an instrument someone repaired without asking your permission. You take your first step into the year 2526. The corridor outside curves gently, no straight lines anywhere, like the entire building was grown instead of built. You don't know yet, but you'll find out that in this era, buildings listen. A figure approaches, human, or human enough, tall, calm-faced, wearing clothing that seems to shift color slowly like a living gradient. They don't look surprised to see you. Of course, they don't. You are, to them, a scheduled event. An appointment. A promise fulfilled on a spreadsheet somewhere, 500 years old. Welcome back, they say, and their voice carries none of the drama you expected. No fanfare, no shock. Just quiet, practiced kindness, the way a nurse speaks to the 100th patient of the day. You're one of the older continuum cases. We don't get many from your century anymore. That word does something to you. It tells you, without needing to explain, that you are not the first, that there were others before you, and that eventually there stopped being others like you at all. Moved on from people who die the way you died. They walk you forward, and the corridor opens into something that steals the air out of your lungs. A city, but not a city the way you understood cities. No traffic, no noise, no grid of gray streets choking on exhaust. Towers rise not up from the ground, but seem to grow out of it. The sky itself is wrong in a way that takes you a second to place. Then you realize there are no clouds, just a soft, engineered blue, seamless calm. Like the entire atmosphere has been asked politely to behave. Where is everyone? Right here, the figure says, and gestures at their own tempo. Most of life happens inward now. They gesture at the glowing towers, the floating figures, the impossible sky. This is just a shell most people keep for old time's sake. You don't understand yet. You will. And when you do, it will terrify you. They bring you to what they call an orientation chamber, a small room, softly lit, where a woman with silver eyes and no visible age waits for you. She introduces herself as your continuum liaison. Her job, she explains, is to help you re-anchor. Re-anchor to what? You asked. To reality, she says, and smiles, like that's obvious. Here's where things start to crack. She explains that in the 500 years since you died, humanity didn't just build better cities or cure diseases, though they did both. They fundamentally rewrote what a human being is. Most people alive today aren't fully biological anymore. Somewhere around the 2000s, human consciousness became transferable, not perfectly, not without loss, but transferable into synthetic neural lattice that don't age, don't decay, don't die from anything except deliberate erasure. Most of them haven't touched solid ground in years. Their physical bodies are optional, decorative, even. Some people wear 3 or 4 different bodies, depending on mood. The way you used to change outfits, you feel sick. Not because it's evil, she's careful to explain that nobody was forced, that it was slow, generational, consensual, almost gentle in how it happened, but because you realize, sitting in this chair, in your one original body, that you are now something close to an antique. You're one of the last fully biological humans who remembers a pre-integration world, she says. That makes you valuable. It also makes you... She pauses, choosing the word carefully. Rare. Rare like a museum piece, you say. She doesn't correct you, and that's when the real conflict sets in. Not a monster, not a villain, nothing so simple. The conflict is this. You have been given a second life in a world that has, in every meaningful sense, left your kind of humanity behind. You are a guest in a house built by descendants of your species who no longer entirely resemble it. You ask the question you've been afraid to ask since you opened your eyes. Can I go back? Can I just live a normal life? Get a job, get a home, grow old, and die like a person is supposed to. The liaison's silver eyes flicker, and for the first time, something like sympathy crosses her impossibly smooth face. You can, she says, but you should know what growing old means here now. And you should know what happens to people who choose it. She shows you, not through words, through a kind of shared vision. A soft neural pulse she offers you permission to accept, and against every instinct you have, you say yes. Suddenly you're not in the chamber anymore. You're seeing memories, or something like memories, borrowed from someone else's 500 years of living. You see diseases erased so completely that doctors are now historians instead of healers. You see art that doesn't just hang on walls but grows and evolves in real time, reacting to the emotions of whoever's standing near it. You see people who chose to remain analog, fully biological, fully mortal, by choice living in reservations, not prisons, she's careful to clarify, but communities, protected and respected, yet undeniably separate. Museums with heartbeats, people who die real deaths, grow real wrinkles, feel real fear of ending, while the rest of the species watches. Half in reverence, half in pity. The way you might watch an old film shot on grainy tape. Beautiful, but clearly from another time. You see something else too, something that makes your stomach drop. Not everyone made the transition by choice, early in the shift, in the messy decades before it became fully consensual. There were people who were upgraded against their will. Family members transferred by loved ones, desperate to save them. Corporations offering the poor a second chance that came with permanent debt to the very systems keeping their minds alive. It got fixed. Eventually, she assures you. Laws changed. Protections were built, but it wasn't always clean. And some of those early, unwilling transfers, their minds never fully stabilized. They're still out there, she admits quietly. Fragments of people, drifting through old server networks that were never properly shut down. Echoes. Not quite alive, not quite gone. The vision ends. You're back in the chamber, gasping. You're very real. Very fragile human heart hammering in your very real. Very fragile human chest. I want to go outside, you say. I need to see it myself, not through your memories. Mine. She hesitates, and that hesitation scares you more than anything she's shown you so far. She agrees, reluctantly, and within minutes you're standing on an open platform at the edge of the city, wind moving across your face for what feels like the first genuinely real sensation since you woke up. Below you, the city sprawls in impossible geometry, lights pulsing like a living organism. And then you see them, a group of figures approaching along the platform, moving with just slightly too much precision, expressions just slightly too symmetrical. Analog, the liaison murmurs, though not in the way she described the reservation communities. Her voice has changed. Tighter, older transfer subjects, pre-legislation, the echoes. They stop a few feet from you, one of them a man, or what used to be a man, with eyes that flicker like a dying screen, tilts his head at you with unsettling slowness. You're new, he says, and his voice glitches on the word, doubling for a fraction of a second, like two versions of him spoke at once. You still have blood. You don't answer. They forgot to shut some of us down properly, he continues, drifting a half-inch off the ground. Close enough now that you can see he's not quite solid. More like a hologram fighting to stay in focus. Isn't that funny? 500 years of perfect civilization, and they still leave the mistakes running. Your liaison steps between you and him. Her voice suddenly firm, commanding in a way it hasn't been all day. That's enough. Step back. For a moment, nothing happens. Husty wind and the impossible blue sky, and this fractured almost person staring at you like you're a ghost from his past, instead of the other way around. Then, slowly, he smiles, and it's the most human expression you've seen since you woke up, because it's full of grief. Enjoy your blood, he says. It doesn't last. And he drifts backward into the crowd of others, flickering once, twice, before blending into the skyline like static disappearing into a screen. You realize you've been holding your breath. Back in the chamber, your liaison finally lets her calm facade slip. Hoosed slightly. I'm sorry, she says. You weren't supposed to encounter a fragment on your first day. It's rare. I should have anticipated it. Is that what I'm going to become? You ask. If I don't, upgrade. Am I going to end up flickering on some platform in 500 more years, begging strangers to remember I used to be a person? No, she says. And for once, she sounds certain. You have a choice. They never had. Full information. Full consent. Full protection under law. You can remain analog and live out a complete, respected human life. You can choose to transfer, fully informed, fully supported, or she pauses, you can choose something in between. Partial integration, extended lifespan without losing your original body entirely. It's your decision. It was always going to be your decision. That's the whole point of everything that came after people like him. You sit with that for a long moment. Because here's what you realize. Sitting in a chamber 500 years from the life you knew, having just been threatened, gently, sadly by a broken echo of someone's grandfather. The future didn't erase humanity. It just handed humanity an impossible, beautiful, terrifying amount of choice. And choice, it turns out, is heavier than any single certainty ever was. You think of your old life, your job, your small apartment, your mediocre coffee every morning. Arguments you had that felt so important and now feel like dust. You think about how you used to be afraid of dying, and how strange it is to sit here, alive against every odd. You were afraid of being forgotten. You ask for time. Just time to walk the city on your own, to very human feet. To feel the false wind in the manufactured sky. To talk to analog families in their protected communities. To sit quietly near a fragment without flinching. And to actually decide who you want to be in a world that no longer has a single answer to that question. Because that's the real twist of waking up in the year 2526. It's not the flying cities. or the minds without bodies, or the ghosts of the unwillingly transferred drifting through server towers. It's this. The future didn't solve being human. It just gave humans 500 more years and 1,000 more ways to keep asking the same question every generation has always asked in the dark, staring at a ceiling, wondering if they mattered. Who am I, really, and what part of me is allowed to end? You don't have the answer yet. Maybe you never fully will. But for the first time since you opened your eyes in that pearl-colored room, you don't feel like a museum piece. You feel like someone standing at the very beginning of something again. So here's the question. This leaves you with the one you can't quite shake as the credits of this impossible day start to roll in your mind. If you were given the choice right now, the real choice, not a hypothetical one to shed your body, your mortality, your fear of ending, in exchange for something that might not even be you anymore, would you take it, or would you hold on to something as small, as fragile, and as fiercely human as a heartbeat that isn't guaranteed tomorrow precisely because it isn't guaranteed? 500 years from now, someone might wake up and ask the exact same question about you. So maybe the real story was never about the year 2526. Maybe it was about right now this year. This life. This one irreplaceable body you're sitting in while you watch this. Because someday, whether it's 5 years from now or 500, someone is going to open their eyes and wonder what happened to the version of humanity that used to be afraid, who said to bleed, used to run out of time. Let's hope, whoever they are, they remember we mattered.